Hi there, I'm Horsher, and welcome to Whipped Into Shape. Today we'll be covering the Mount Ormond Resort as well as the Ormond Lake Mine. To begin, we'll start with the Mount Ormond Resort itself. The shack. There's only one little thing in here we need to worry about. This tiny little box by the pallet, you can just hit over it, no problems. The box up top, you can't. Something interesting about the shack on Ormond is you can hit through these windows. It is a little bit delayed, as the whip does have to drag down a slight bit, depending on where you're hitting through the window, but you can hit through the window regardless. This is a nice thing to know. It's not a guaranteed hit, that's why it's purple. It's kind of something that you can go for, you can have a little fun time trying, but it's not really something that's going to get you value every single time. And this even works from inside the shack, of course, just like it does from the outside. And even if a survivor is crouching, it does not matter. You will hit them through the window regardless, so keep that in mind if that is something that's for some reason happening to you. And it can go either way. I tested it on all three of the Ormond Resort variants, 1, 2, and 3, so every single window there you'll be fine. As far as the vaultable window in Shack, you cannot crouch it like some other maps. You can hit over it normally, but normal Shack window, really. Next up is a loop that I am very creatively calling 2 rock, 2 tree, as it has 2 rocks and 2 trees. This little rock here, you can't hit over the tall bit of it, so don't go for that. Speeding up the clip a little bit just to show all that. The top, no. But this bit by the tree, as I've labeled here, is another thing you can hit over, so just be aware of that. If they are looping around the tree tightly, you can simply throw your whip over it and you will be good. It goes from only a very specific angle, so be careful of that. Now, the other side with the pallet, you might think you can hit right there under it. It is a bit deceptive, but no, you cannot. And this portion of the rock, you can hit over the same way the other side goes, which is right by the tree, but again, only a very specific angle. So if you're going for this, know that they have to be like within a foot or two of the tree itself. The rock is too tall simply otherwise. If you can see their shoulders, you're pretty much good. Next up is some rocks. There's going to be a lot of these. For the most part, this loop makes sense. If you can see above their shoulders, above their waist, you can pretty much hit them regardless. Tall rock is tall rock, short rock is short rock. Now going over to this 2 rock pallet, the one on the left will be completely fine from any angle. It is a bit deceptive, but in your favor, so if you can only see their head, you can just hit them over it no matter what. Now, the other portion where the right rock has a little pointy bit on top, for the most part, you can't really hit over this. This one is deceptive in the wrong direction, unfortunately. But there is like this one side on the very right here that you can hit over. So if you're going for a hit, it doesn't matter which way you're looping the rock. So if you're going counterclockwise, you're good. Clockwise, not so much. So be careful of that. Now, who is surprised when I say that there's another rock? This one kind of makes sense. There's like this little bit on the right here that is too tall. Again, if you can't really see under a character's nose, you can't hit them. If you can see them here in the middle, you can hit them just fine. This rock's geometry is really weird, so the angle that you're throwing your whip from really does matter here. Like in the center bit, obviously there's nothing there because the rock is like a foot tall. But as far as this goes, anything that's like past the first foot on the left, you just can't hit over. Most of the time with this rock, you're going to be wanting to go for hits through the middle, if at all. And again, angling. If you go to a different angle, you can hit through like half of it. So a good tip is this little pointy tip on the right of Jeff's head here. You usually can't hit that. This next rock I like to call the Camel Rock because it looks like a camel and it's got 2 humps. Most of the time, you cannot hit over the humps, so just be cautious of that, of course. You can hit right through the middle between them where Jeff is looking. It is a pretty self-explanatory rock, but sometimes they aren't, so I'm going to explain it anyway. Again, just hit through the middle. Won't be any trouble given to you. It's usually not attached to a pallet, so it's not something you have to worry about too often, but it is a nice thing to get a little cheeky hit here and there. The next one is going to be called the Case Rock, because when we were recording this, it happened to have a case next to it. You can hit over the majority of it for the most part. Just be wary of, like, the taller bits of the rocks where you can't. Not a lot of the bits of this loop are not going to make sense. So if you can't see them, you're not going to hit them. There's not like an invisible wall you can hit through, like on Toba or something. Just if you see their chest, if you see their head, you can go for it. You usually want to check and make sure if they're the type of survivor to duck. If they don't duck, just go for it. Just full send it every time. And around this little corner here, you can also get hit. Now, this loop, 2 tree, 2 rock, you can hit over the majority of the rocks on the left. You can hit through where the pallet would be if you can actually have the pallet down. And as far as this little segment between the tree and the rock, you cannot hit through it, despite how it may look. And that's pretty much it for this one. Moving over to Triple Tree by Main, there's not a lot you can do to play here unless you're going for the short side. These stones you can hit over, but you cannot hit through the tree itself. Unfortunately, it would be really nice. And this taller rock here, remember when I said avoid the pointy rocks? This is another one of those pointy rocks you need to avoid. And this one on the right, you can't do anything about this. If you're going to try and loop this side, or a survivor tries it, you just need to eat the pallet. Because you can't hit through it, can't hit around it, can't really drag it. Move on. For 2 Tree 2 Rock Part 2, the majority of the loop, it makes sense. You can't really hit over much. This smaller rock on the right, you can hit through. You can hit between these trees as well, which is very nice for shortening your loop time. But if they go around the other side, the long side, you're not really going to have a lot to do unless you specifically go to this part right by the loop, right by the tree, where you can hit over the rock. And again, it's only like a couple feet, so be careful. The next loop is going to be the 1-3 rocks. For the most part, this loop is fine. Just, again, watch out for the pointy bits that you cannot hit over for every single rock. You can hit around them on this one, on the one side, but if you try to go through the pointy bit, it's not going to work. So just be very cautious of where you're swinging the whip at. It is a good spot to get hits, but you have to keep to the edges or the flatter tops rather than the pointy tops. This goes for pretty much everything in this loop on either side of it, the 1 or the 3. Again, just avoid the tops. You can hit over where the pallet is if the pallet is gone, but anything short makes sense, so no worries there. And here's just the kind of showcase for everything here. Don't really worry. And then the pointy top here again with Jeff. I know I'm saying it a lot, but really, the pointy top rock is going to be like the bane of your existence if you don't pay attention to it. So make sure you pay attention to it. You cannot hit through it, and you'll be fine. Next on our list of very creatively named loops, 2 Rock and Pallet. On the side without the pallet, we're going to start with the rock. And for the most part, it makes sense. So you can't hit over the top. You can hit over the short sides. There's nothing really crazy here. As far as from a side view, same deal really. If the rock is a bit too tall, can't hit over it, and you'll be in trouble. Now for the other rock, not as friendly for you actually getting hits, I will say. The taller side is not great, but this entire lower half is good for getting hits over it, so that'll be fine too. Our next one is going to be Rock and Snown. It's just a couple rocks and a couple of bits of snow. You can hit right through the middle of the rocks, no problemo. It's very nice. The Snowpile is fine, and you can also hit over the short end of the shorter rock, of course. And this goes from pretty much every angle, no worries really there. The only thing you really need to learn about this loop is that the middle is hit overable, and the rocks for the tall parts are not. Again, it makes sense. It's not really something you have to worry about too much. This tiny little segment on the side you can also hit over if they're hugging it really tightly. That's also good to know. Now, for a 2 Rocks and Snown, it does matter which rock you're hitting over. This side with the snow and the rock, you can hit over the entire thing with 0 repercussions whatsoever. This other rock by the pallet is going to give you a bit more issues. You can hit through where the pallet is when it's down, but if it's not down, you have to worry about just hitting over the short end. Other than that, you're good. This next thing is not so much a loop per se, it's just like a bit of collision that you should worry about sometimes in case survivors are running around it or something, you want to hit over it. You can't hit through it, collision's really bad. The seat itself is a big no, the snow is going to be fine. The Snowblower Loop is probably the most egregious example of horrendous hitboxes on the entirety of Ormond. Like, dude, wow. There is a little bit of skill expression in this loop when you get past the snowblower itself. This rock in the middle, you can hit over it. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but it is going to be like a very big time saver when it comes to this loop specifically if you don't just want to eat the pallet and move on. And you can hit over it at pretty much any angle, so that rock is really nice. It goes from both sides as well, so again, something to learn. It's a bit harder to see from this side, but it is still possible and it's something you need to know. Now, when you actually get to the snowblower without the loop itself, there's not really anything to learn here because the entire thing is one massive block of a hitbox. Just walk around this, don't even try to use your tentacle here because it's not going to work. You will be excited to know that the ski guard tower, while you can't hit up this side specifically when they're at the very apex of the stairs, when you go to the stairs themselves, you can hit survivors on pretty much every single step of the staircase except for the very top one and when they're on the flat surface. This is really good to know because survivors will be running up that a good bit to get to the window. The Snowpile here you can hit over, and that's important to know because when you're going in chase like this against a survivor who vaults it, you can simply go for a drag and hit over the pile itself. And for the eco-conscious Nemesis out there, you can in fact hit over the recycling, trash, and other bins. No problem with that. The Snowpile itself is a little too tall though, so don't go for that, can't hit it. Now, after throwing away our recyclables, we're going to head over to the Ormond Resort sign, where we can hit over this fence with no problems whatsoever. The fence is good from any angle, no worries. A good thing to know about this is that there's rocks here on the sides, and the rock on the left, you can just hit over it completely from any angle, really. Now, to the actual sign itself, we see that we can hit over the rocks still, but you cannot hit under it, you cannot hit through it, no matter how it looks, no matter that you can see survivors, it doesn't matter, you can't go for that, so don't go for that. The rock over here will also be good from pretty much every angle, you can hit over it just fine, unlike the sign, and another triple tree that you cannot hit through, so don't go for that, or you're going to be wasting a lot of your time. Now that we've found out where to go from the Ormond sign, we can go over to the picnic tables and have a delicious lunch. Every single picnic table on this map has the same hitbox. There are more on the other side of Maine, but don't worry about them too much because they all have the same hitbox and you can hit over all of them. Now for a relatively new loop, the U lane, there's not a whole lot to learn here. This little ski rack, you might think, no, don't even worry about it. Nothing to worry. This box here over by the pallet, or where a pallet could spawn, is something you can hit over. The only real thing we have to worry about now is this crate, which you can't hit over. It spawns on a bunch of maps, so be careful of this thing right here. The Snowplow is actually a pretty solid loop for you because all of the treads on pretty much every single side of this thing, you can just hit over them. This is just going to be showcasing all the bits where you can hit over, like boom, again, there you go. I'm just going to be making sure you know, you can't really hit under the fog lights of this thing, but you can hit over the tread edges, so be careful if you're going for that one specifically. These ones, again, nothing to worry about. If they're in the middle for some reason, you'll be good to go. And as far as the last one goes, you'll be good to go with that as well. Now, the thing about this loop that you need to really learn is this rock. You'll see there's another pointed edge there, like I've been talking about this whole time. You can't hit over that, but for the rest of the rock, you can. So if you're going for a hit, this is usually the spot you want to do it at, because approximately 2/3 of the rock, you can just hit over it with no problem. Now, for a little bit of joy and whimsy, this snowman next to a couple of snowboards, you can hit over the snowman. They're on Team Killer. Let's go. The Snowpile itself with the snowboards is not going to be helping you at all. Don't go for this hit unless you're on the very edge. As you can see here, when we go for the right, we're good to go. Now, for the snow gear racks, there is not really a lot to work with here. This is less of a loop and more of just a solid obstacle. It doesn't really matter the angle you come from. It doesn't really matter where you try to go for a hit through. The entire thing is a solid obstacle. This goes for pretty much every single time you'll see this on the map. Again, over here, you can not hit through that. The snowboards are going to block you. The snowpile will block you. This thing that's completely empty, you'd think, but no. This one as well, same deal. Can't do anything about it. And if you think I'm going to show you the other side and be like, well, there's actually a secret spot here, incorrect. You cannot hit through this thing at all. I'm telling you, the gear is the bane of your existence. Don't go for hits here. Now, for Ormond's long, short wall, there's not really a whole lot here to learn except for this one specific box, so if they throw the pallet, you can hit over that corner, no problem. Now, for the Ormond Resort Jungle Gym, there is, again, another wall of snowboarding gear that you just can't hit through. Solid object, don't worry about that, don't go for it, nothing you can do about it. As far as when the pallet is dropped, you can hit over this specific crate. If the pallet is dropped, that's the only time you'll be able to do that. As far as the actual wall of other stuff leading to the window, again, just another solid wall of stuff you can't hit over. More snow gear, kind of signifying that. The actual little barrel fire here and the window, you can hit over though. So if you're going for an angle, this is going to be the one. Moving away from that loop into the main building, of course, you're going to start with the basement staircase. You can hit through this window, of course. It is pretty obvious. The railing and the actual table here are the same, but when you get to the lamp, that's not something you can hit over, so don't go for that one specifically. Now moving to the Ormond Resort bar, the entire bar itself is fine, but when you go for the taps that actually dispense the liquid, that's not going to be something that you can hit over. The bar counter itself is going to be fine from any angle. This doesn't really matter. And again, the taps are a no-go, but you can also hit over the bar through the window. Very cool. Now moving into the lounge itself, we're going to start with this couch. You can hit over the entire couch as expected, of course. Most of the furniture in this place is hit overable. This little stool, this couch, this chair, this little thing behind it, everything like that. The luggage rack over here is going to hit overable, this one specifically. You can hit over the left, you can hit over the right, you can hit over the very far right. It's all going to be good for you, but this luggage rack that the busboy would usually take to your room, this one cannot be hit over, so be careful of that. This chair and this side table are also pretty much the same as before. No worries there, nothing new to learn. This lamp is hit overable too, and you know, it looks like it would be, so no surprise. These are like 2 feet tall, so of course you can hit over them. Why wouldn't you be able to? That'd be silly, right? Now, this over here is a more complex bit. This little bit behind the pallet you can hit over. The furniture is fine, no worries about that there. But when the pallet goes down specifically is when you get a new hit, I guess. This small table is fine to hit over normally. And you can see that you can't hit over this while the pallet is up, but once the pallet is down, you were able to then hit over the chair. Very cool. This pillar specifically is not meant to be just this pillar, but every pillar in the building is identical. It has a pretty weird hitbox that's invisible, so. Now, the side staircase is one that is very fun to hit. This is kind of a horser hit, but, you know, whatever. The hitbox doesn't really work for you if you're standing on the stairs. However, if a survivor vaults out the window, you can then hit them over it while they're falling in midair. This is helpful for this loop as it saves you a lot of time, and again, you can't hit over this from any angle while trying to hit over the railing at this particular angle from below and side. But what you want to kind of learn how to do is just, you know, survivor, they vault the window, you can hit them like this over the railing, you'll be good. That's the hit. The main staircase has a different hitbox where you can actually hit them over the railing at the very bottom, and that's it. Now for the reception area, which is pretty cool and nice because the hitboxes match up with what you would expect, you can hit over the entire thing, no problemo. So if survivor runs through there, you can just hit them for free. No one's ever really going to be standing here, but you might go for a weird angle when you're coming around the corner counterclockwise. This locker room thing is pretty nice. This little thing you could sit on. This ski sticking up actually does its job and blocks things. Crazy. You can't hit over the lockers, of course, but every little small bench, understandably, you can hit over, no problems whatsoever. And this goes for pretty much every bench in the room. So, again, understandably, you can hit over them. The bins outside, again, something you can hit over. Very nice. Saves you a little bit of time. Now moving upstairs with the outside staircase, you can hit over this just like the inside staircase in the middle, and you can't really hit over the railing. However, there is this funny little hit you can do from inside. This is never going to get you value, but it's fun to know that you can hit over that like that. Very cool. And this is just me flexing a little bit because, you know. Now, when you go upstairs into the catwalk, there's one thing to worry about. It's this box by the god pallet. You can't play around this, so just wait for the pallet. Now, the inside catwalk upstairs is actually something with very nice collision because everything works here as you would expect it to. You can hit over the railing, no problem whatsoever. And all of the pillars that would potentially block you, you can just hit under them. That's why they're in blue. So, you can't hit through things, of course, but the pillars that hold up the ceiling, they don't block your whip either. So it's very cool, it's very nice. These do save you a couple of seconds, like maybe every once in a while. And when you move over to this pallet at the end that, you know, sometimes blocks, you can't hit through it, but you can hit over it. And that is going to be it for the Ormond Resort. We're going to now move on to the Ormond Lake Mine. The Ormond Lake Mine shack doesn't have anything interesting that you can hit over, through, or around in it. You just do the normal shack mechanics. It's not like the resort, so don't go for hits through windows. This box outside, you can hit over it. There's going to be a lot of random obstacles on this map that don't really have places to go just because there's a lot of stuff outside, so we're going to be going through a lot of those right now. The forklift and all forklifts on this map have the same hitbox. You can't hit through them whatsoever. Don't even try for it. It's very deceptive looking. This pile of sandbags, you can hit over the short bit, but not the tall bit. And this little blue tarped thing as well, you can hit over. If you're trying to hit over the sandbags from this angle, don't even bother. Not worth your time. Next up is going to be this curved hill. You can hit over the pipes that are laying diagonally down towards the hill just fine. The sandbags are usually not going to be worth your time because from 90% of the angles you just can't get the hit. You have to get extremely close, and at that point you can just hit them for free with a punch anyway. Same thing going downwards, not really going to work out in your favor. The hitbox just doesn't fall quick enough. Here's the other angle of the pipes from before. You can hit over it just fine. Angle of attack doesn't matter. And for this pile of pipes, you can hit over the pipes in the barrel just fine, and the 3 barrels standing upright, you cannot. Now moving on to inside the solo pipe, you can hit over the spool of wire, and if there's a case there, that too, just fine. And this stack of 6 tires, you cannot. Moving on from 1 pipe to 3, the loop directly outside it, you can hit over the short side with this little paint bucket and this brick, no problem. Same thing going for on the other side of the loop. When you're by the actual vault itself, you can hit over the wood there. Now we're going to be moving into the pipes, and this stack of barrels you can hit over just fine. These are relatively easy loops. It's like a 3-lane, but not. This stack of pipes as well, no problem. Pretty simple loop here. Now moving back outside to the pipe box thing, you can hit over the snow just fine. Same with most of the blue tarped thing, of course. And the pipes on top will be a no-go here. That's going to be the only thing to worry about. Now, moving on to the pits, you can't really hit over the rocks, but the thing that you're going to want to know that is interesting here is you can drop your whip to hit survivors in the pits if they're standing up. Just make sure they're upright, of course, and then you'll be good to go. You can hit over this little side rock, no problem. Not really going to be a situation you really see too often. But you can also hit upwards out of the pit if they're standing on the layer above you, because this one is fine for that. You can also hit on this side, no problem whatsoever. Now moving to the other pit, this is where it gets a little tricky. It does depend on where you're standing. If you were fully out of the pit, you're a little too high up, but if you move a couple feet in or out specifically, then you can hit a survivor in the pit. See, he's not at the very top, so you can hit him there. This spool of wire and a snow pile, the wire is going to be a no-go, the snow is going to be a yes-go. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, but you can hit over this loop, no problem. Now for this next piece of thing that's outside, this box that's snowed in, you can hit over the box just fine and like a foot of the snow pile. You can't really hit over the pile, the angle matters, and you can kind of hit like a little bit right where the snow pile meets the box. Now coming to one of the new loops in 2024, this little thing covered in snow right here can be hit over completely, but what the main attraction of this is really not these 3 barrels that you can also hit over, but the double pallet right here. You can hit over the middle of this. It is pretty weak in your favor, of course. Hit over the entire thing, no problems whatsoever. You don't even have to play the pallets. And this spool of wire, of course, not going to be able to hit through that. But for the rest of it, absolutely. Sure, by now you're getting tired. But the tires, there is 2 variants of tires on this map. There is the 6 tall and the 5 tall. The 5 tall you can hit over, the 6 tall you cannot. This goes for every set of tires that look like this on the entire map. It doesn't matter where you are. So just remember that if they are 1 shorter, you can hit over them just fine. This next area is kind of just the middle bit. You can hit over this small wire spool with the junk on top of it, of course, and the big wire spool, you're not going to be able to. This box, this plywood covered in snow, you're also going to be able to hit over. This box covered in a blue tarp, you're going to be able to hit over. Just a bunch of random stuff. Now, for whoever crashed this, losing their license probably is a good way to go. The back of the truck, you cannot hit over the tallest bit of it, or the bit going to the left. The very end, you can. The entire truck bed, say for 1.5 feet or so, going onto the top, you cannot hit over. The closer you get to the cab, you can hit them, even if they're crouching, which is good to know. You can hit over the cab itself, of course. And as far as this green thing, not at all. Now for the Ormond Mine Gym, you can hit over this nice little snow pile that's going to be helpful for us. Kaboom. You can hit over these barrels here as well. Also a kaboom. But that's pretty much it. You can't hit over this because it is a 6-high tire pile. Like I said before, can't hit over that at all. Now there's more stuff near main. This little pile, blue tarp, tire, you can hit over that just fine. Ignore her. Now this pile, there are more tires you can't hit over. The plywood is just fine, as per usual. The pipes are a bit too tall here for you. You can tell this is 6-high. There is one under the snow. It is 6, I promise. You cannot hit over the metal pipes, but you can hit over the corner of this loop, no problem whatsoever. The snow pile is also fine. The snow pile here is also fine. These pipes are also fine. To the strongest, read the weakest loop on this map, the seawall. You can hit over the entire thing. There is legitimately nothing for survivors here. The tower. You can't hit through these things. It's very deceptive. It hurts my feelings, but no, not at all. This goes for pretty much every variation of this. You can't hit through the bit that spawns by the hook. Even if the hook isn't there, you can't hit through it. Can't hit through the ladder either. I know you're enjoying the segmentation of this design. Thank you. I know it was good. It was good work. But no ladder. Doesn't matter what side. Can't hit through anything. Can't hit over anything. Except for this stack of crap outside. Very cool. Thank you, tower. Welcome to the underground, where we'll be covering this little corner bit by these 3 barrels that you can, in fact, hit over. No problems. This box here with a couple of things on it can also be hit over, even through the stuff on top of it. But the interesting part of underground is you can hit through the icicle segments here. Just a cool little bit of info for you there. Now taking the stairs out of the underground into the main building, downstairs, the yellow railings are yellow to signify that you can in fact hit over them, so it's a caution sign for survivors. Or something. I don't know. But yeah, you can hit over all the railings here. This loop is kind of a joke for you, I'm not gonna lie. Even at tier 2, you're fine. Now the stack of sandbags you can hit over, the upright crate you cannot. Not that you would be fooled, because it's literally taller than you. And as I was saying earlier with the forklifts suck, can't hit over them. The barrels here, just fine. Can't hit through them, can't hit over them, no deal. Now this box and more barrels, you can hit around them just fine. The pallet will block your line of sight, you can hit over that too when it's gone. And the upright box, again, no surprise, you cannot hit over that. Under the staircase, you can hit over the sandbags and kind of through it a little bit. Just a little boom right there. Just do be cautious because there are like a couple angles you can't hit. The big stack of pipes, you do need to be tier 3 to actually hit this distance-wise, but you can hit over the entire thing. And that is it for downstairs, so moving upstairs, the railing rules have not changed. You can still hit over that even though there's a cloth over the top of it. You can hit over this as well as the window too. Again, tier 3 is usually what you want to be going for hits like this when you have the distance to do so. No railing is different, no change in the rules, they're all the same, you can hit over them just fine. This box in the corner, you can't hit over the metal bit, but the wooden bit itself, the short bit near you in this clip, you can hit over. Still more railing, is fine, but the mechanical thing, don't worry about that, you can't hit it at all. Just go for a whip drag or something. The wooden box, you're good to go. Now moving to the right, to this other little loop thing in the corner, you can't hit over the steel bars, but you can in fact hit over the most of the short bits. The dead body is a dead giveaway that you can hit over him. And the cardboard box is surprisingly sturdy, and you can't hit through it at all. Weird. Now, again, railings are yellow. Don't go for the beams. You'll be fine to hit it here as well. Now, for this little bit outside, the stack of planks, you'll be fine. Even when the pallet is gone, though, this is a little deceptive, but who's really expecting to hit this? You can't hit through the wall, unfortunately. I tried. Now, this is just a fun hit. Just flexing a little bit. But you can hit that. It's nice. And that's everything you can hit on Ormond, the mine, and the resort. I hope you learned something, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're going to become a better Nemesis player as a result. See you later. Hi there. Been a while since I've done a Whipped Into Shape. This one is a little longer because there's more maps to cover, of course. If you have been sticking around for this long on YouTube and you ever feel like being part of the community, I do stream on Twitch 4 days a week, Tuesday to Friday at 6 p.m. PST. On Tuesday through Thursday, I play Nemesis, and pretty much only Nemesis, and on Friday, we have our Community Swift Night. So if you're interested, feel free to come on by and be part of the community. Overall, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye!